Hello, everybody. Welcome along. Bit of a treat for you this Friday. We have got Jack from Because We Win on the show, and we are going to be trying to forecast all 10 teams to be promoted from the EFL. Why, I don't know, but it's a bit of fun for the international break. So we've got three from the Championship, we've got two automatics and a playoff winner. We got three from League One, two automatics and a playoff winner. And yes, viewers will know this grinds my gears that it's then different in League Two. And I need uniformity, Jack. But we have three automatics and one playoff winner from League Two. We're going to try and go through all of these. And if you want, how big are your cojones? Hit pause now and get your 10 in there in the comments before you've heard what Jack has got to say and my thoughts. Jack, we're putting our necks on the line. It's going to be fun. Good morning, mate, and welcome to the channel.
Mate, good morning to you too, and thanks so much for having me on board. Yeah, really looking forward to this. As much as a daunting task as it is, like what we're doing here, trying to predict these three leagues and the 10 that escape from them the right end. Yeah, tough work, but it's going to be fun.
Right, let's start because my knowledge is going to gradually drip away. I need you to hold my hand on League Two, but I think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Championship. We'll come to the playoffs. We'll do them as one at the end.
Mm.
And I redid my Championship 1 to 24s, Jack. So people will know my two automatic picks. I'm still on Leeds. Had a big conversation with Just Joe on his YouTube channel last night about maybe the standard of the league and that if a team like Leeds United can just be, I don't know, 6, 7 out of 10, they're not going to get caught out like they did last year where they were maybe 8 out of 10 and didn't get over the line. So I'm still going to go with Leeds. I won't say champions or whichever way around because I don't have to on this one. We're just picking the promoted teams. And at
Mm.
the moment, I really do like what Sunderland are doing, but the parachute money talks, doesn't it? And you would think in the end, the star power maybe that a Sheffield United have would take
Mm.
them ahead. So it feels a little bit predictable. I think a lot of people are going to have those two picks. I will say Leeds and Sheffield United for my two autos. What say you, Jack?
Well, this is a very good start, Ben. So you say a lot of people will agree with you. I am one of those people. I've got exactly the same too. I just see Leeds as a little bit of a racehorse at the moment, with plenty still in the tank, being held just off the lead a little bit. Obviously, hat tip to Regis Labrice, who's done sensational stuff at Sunderland to start with. And you can imagine their fans a little bit like, hang on, what about us? You know, we're doing so well. And absolutely they are. You know, to come into this league brand new, we've seen many sink without trace coming into the wonderful world of the Championship. But he's done sensational stuff. And, you know, he looks in his rearview mirrors and he's got the managerial glitterati of the Championship filling them, hasn't he? Sir Daniel Farker, of course, in there. Scott Parker, Chris Wilder, so who we think will go up with Leeds, and Carlos fifth place Corberan as well in there, who just seems to like to sit in that situation and watch teams go up and above around him. But he's doing sensational work. I think they will fall just short. I do have them getting into the playoffs, but for me, Leeds, yeah, I think will just, you know, to have done what they've done so far with the heart ripped out that side is superb. And I think they've just got enough both off the field and on it, importantly, to get the job done. And Sheffield United, again, I think the important thing for them is just to avoid those injuries and suspensions if possible. And make sure that the people they've got in the building at the moment stay in the building come February the 1st. So obviously there's going to be a few players in demand there. Vinny Souza, absolutely sensational, probably the best CDM in the league right now. We know about Gus Hamer, of course, but those central defensive pairing, Ahmed Hodzic and Suter, sensational stuff. And up top, so pleased for Campbell, come from what he's been through over the last couple of seasons as well. We'll see a smile back on his face and scoring goals is great as a neutral in that respect as well. But yeah, those are the two that I have going up automatically.
We'll come back to the playoffs at the end and try and figure out who might be a good bet for the tournament football. Look, League One, and people will get annoyed with the predictability, but if I just get the elephant, Birmingham-shaped elephant in the room out the way, is I mean, present it in the comments. How can you argue against Birmingham being automatically promoted with the kind of power of the squad? I know they're not top of the table currently, but maybe, and I'll get your view on it, Jack. We've got a bit of a red hot run from Wycombe Wanderers that may not be sustainable right the way through, if that's a polite way of saying it. But they've done absolutely fantastic. So look, I'll go straight in with Birmingham and as an obvious pick. Start of the season, I was pretty well on Huddersfield, but they're a little way off it. Wrexham are there, Wycombe are there. Sam Parkin has reported me good things about Barnsley from doing them on Sky as well the other day. So I'm really, really interested, but I will go for Hollywood Wrexham
Wow. Okay.
in second spot. They're lingering, and you wonder what they might be able to do in January to just we saw the Ipswich example, didn't we, of when you can afford to bring in
Mm.
another £1 million fullback and Nathan Broadhead and Massimo Luongo in January. No
Yeah.
one else can do that in League One, and that might be something Wrexham would do. So I'll go for the money. Birmingham and Wrexham, Jack. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I see you're angling for a little cameo in the next Deadpool, aren't you? And that's what your game is there.
Get me on Disney, fella. Get me on there.
Yeah, look, let's say we'll say Birmingham have pretty much got the open top bus parade booked in already, haven't they? People do know me will know that I do a fair amount of work in the betting industry, like it or loathe it. But one of the things that we can take from the bookies is the fact that obviously they run all their models and their simulations and they come up with the odds, which therefore tells us the implied chance of something happening. That's how it all works. And to give an indication of what they think of Birmingham's chances, they're priced at the moment at 1.06 to get promotion, which implies a chance of 93% that they're going to be in the championship next season. So I'll probably make it a little bit higher than that, to be fair. But it is what it is. So yeah, I think they're there. All the metrics support it, and of course, you've already touched on it. The money, if they need, and there's already been some serious talent been linked with them for January. If they really want to go for it again, which I'm sure they will, that's a move they'll make. And so I think they'll come the busy Christmas period, New Year period, and then beyond that, they'll probably streak away. But you're right, this second position is a right minefield, and I tossed and turned over a few clubs there, and you've named a few of them as well. Wrexham, Wycombe, Huddersfield, Bolton, we've not talked about, have had a struggle this season, but we're expected to be up there as well. Barnsley, Stockport, the metrics say
Very good. Very
Stockport
good.
are doing
Yeah.
exceptionally well. Yeah,
And
yeah. So
he loves a winning streak, Dave Challoner as well. They can do
absolutely.
one of their 6, 7 in a row at some point. Then
Yeah.
yeah,
And they've bounced back, haven't they? They got a right thumping by Wycombe a couple of weeks ago, and then
bizarre.
they
Yeah.
bounced. Yeah, so that's always a good sign when a side can do that. And as I say, you streak a few rounds of results together, and anything's possible in the league. I actually fell on Wycombe. That's who I went for. It's always a bit annoying when you go with the current top two to say that's there, but I'm glad you didn't go with that. So it's given me
No, good. Yeah.
something different. So I just love the work that Matt Bloomfield's done there. He's been sensational. You're right. The one thing that concerned me is that I'm looking at him off a hot streak and going, well, that's not going to be sustainable. But you look at the underlying data and it's pretty strong. And you think they started the season with 2 defeats. Sorry, they've done exceptional work since then. So
And
I
those
think
were
it's work.
against Birmingham and
Wrexham,
Wrexham, weren't they?
yeah,
So yeah, there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, so that was a lot of concern. It sort of kind of didn't really expect Wycombe to be up there, and then suddenly they've burst onto the scene and just keep going. And I like the way that they've actually won games differently. We've already mentioned the fact that they've blown decent sides off the park, scoring plenty of goals. But then the Wigan win was really impressive for me. It was a little bit backs to the wall. It was a tough grind for them, but they got that 1-0. And I think sometimes when you can get a 1-0, it's sometimes more impressive or was equally as impressive as a 5-0. So 2 big away wins for them going into this weekend as well. But they're the top scorers in the division. They've got the best goal difference in the division, which would suggest that things are working well at both ends of the pitch. And obviously in Richard Kone, wow, they found a bit of a talent there, haven't they? That 9-minute kind of perfect hat trick burst onto the scene. So if he can keep that kind of form going, then they've got a goal scorer. and a manager that's catching the eye of a little bit higher up. So keeping hold of him is quite important as well.
There you go. So we agree on Birmingham. I'll take Hollywood Wrexham, and you'll take current league leaders Wickham.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stitch you up here, Jack, because you can go first on
Oh,
League
that's very
Two.
kind of you, Ben.
This is not my area of expertise, but I think I know a bit about a few of the runners and riders. So just to smarten people up, Port Vale, Walsall and Notts County, top of the table. Port Vale are on the 2 points per game. Remember, you can get automatic promotion from League Two in that third place spot with a points total that wouldn't get you very near in some of the other divisions. So it's a bit of a different
Mm.
kind of standard with the consistencies, and maybe draws are of slightly more value in League Two than they are in the Championship. We just can't afford to do it. And obviously, you can get promoted from seventh place, which I think we saw Crawley do
Did.
last season, didn't we?
Mm.
So, right, smarten me up and give me your three automatic picks here for League Two, then, Jack.
Well, I love your faith in me, Ben. Thank you very much. But
That's
yeah,
why you're on, mate.
but yeah, Crawley, you're right. Last season were relegation favourites, and then they managed to, like, everyone's waiting for them to fall away, and they just kept going. They got there and ended up obviously getting promoted. So, and we saw with Doncaster, a side that were 20th, kind of quite relatively late in the season, and then went on that incredible run to get into the playoffs, win the first leg, and everyone expected them just to go through and say clinch promotion, but they fell away. But I actually have got them as one of my promoted sides here. That run of form last season, which took them from 20th to 5th, was super eye catching. They've been pretty solid this season. Um, they've had a consistent start without being kind of mind blowing. They brought Billy Sharp back to the club as well, who's been vital actually, because Joe Ironside for them last term was incredible, 20 goals, and he's had a right tough season this season. He's really, really struggled. Everyone thought he was just going to be that kind of nailed on striker, scored the goals again, and that didn't happen for him. So he's been out of the side a bit. But the key thing for me is he started to come back into form, which is crucial for him. He scored in 3 of his last 6 games, but those games only constituted 293 minutes. So he's effectively working out a goal a game. So if he's now going to go on a little bit of a streak, that could be the difference for seeing Doncaster just off the pace to then kind of really set themselves in stone at the top of the table. But Lee Molyneux is a hell of a pickup for them. Again, key player, 18 goal involvements last season. He's already got 10 this season. So they're sharing the work around, and having someone like Billy Sharp in back at the club, obviously a bit of a boost for them, I guess, on and off the pitch as well. I've actually got Walsall getting promoted too. For me, it's the strength in depth that impresses me there. Matt Sadler, who's the perfect fit, obviously, for more ways than one, for the fact that he's at Walsall. The Sadlers, his in-game management's really impressed me. The fact that he's influencing and changing games and has the ability to do that. I think they've got a real good mixture of youth and experience as well. You can see that in their top 2 goal scorers. Nathan Lowe has scored in 5 of the last 7 games, and he's up there in the top scorer charts. He's only 19, and he's got Jamil Matt, the experienced Jamil Matt, alongside him, contributing goals as well. So a nice double out there. And EFL royalty, Albert Adoma, is plying his trade down there as well. And
Top
all of his appearances,
Championship appearance maker of all time. Is that right? Did he overtake Luke Chambers? I think he did, didn't he?
I think he has done, yeah.
Yeah.
He's made all of his appearances this season off the bench. So he's racking them up still. I think he's made 12 appearances, but all from the bench. So again, a great player to have about the place. Go on and look to impact on it. I love seeing these players. I mentioned Billy Sharp, but he's another one. Just seeing them not going right. Okay, I'm not at championship level anymore. I'm done. Actually, still continuing and playing right down into their late 30s. So superb stuff. So I got them, yeah, as the another automatic, and the third automatic side that I put up at the start of the season because I thought they would be doing exceptionally well. I had them last season as well when they fell just short, when they fell apart in the playoffs. It's MK Dons, who I thought under Williamson were going to be able to really kick on. Absolutely didn't happen. And obviously he's now gone to Carlisle. But for them, what a pickup. Scott Lindsay, who was the mastermind behind the Crawley incredible season last season, and has come in and they're in great form right now. 4 wins on the spin. They've picked up 17 points from the 24 points available since he's been in charge. of averaging 2.13. So if they can continue anything like that kind of run throughout the course of the season, then they're likely going to win the title. But anything close to that will be absolutely fine. So I just feel that they've got the infrastructure, they've got the players, and I think now they've got the right manager in place who's obviously dropped down a level to go and look to build something at MK, and I think he'll get them up automatically.
I think you might have just pushed me from having MK as my playoff winner to MK in my third place spot. So I'll um I'll follow you on the Scott Lindsay train and go for MK for my first pick, maybe in third place given their
Yeah.
head start. But Jack, certain teams, I mean, you're a Norwich fan. Norwich in the Championship, just always competitive. MK in League Two, always they just are very good at a certain level, aren't they? So
They
I'll
are.
go MK. I will go with Port Vale, who are currently top. I know Darren Moore splits opinion, doesn't he? In
Yeah.
terms of the Sheffield Wednesday, I don't know. Did he kind of fumble his way to promotion and give up a giant advantage? But if you ever speak to players, they do love him, and I don't know. I sort of maybe it's my age. I think Port Vale's level is above League Two. Let's just say I'm trying to remember who that striker they had. They were in the Anglo-Italian Cup when I was growing up, and in the second
Wow.
tier. So I'll take Port Vale. I'll take Notts County as well. So we've got two different. I just think they've been buzzing around there, and we were talking about Wrexham with Matt SB on the League One predictions, and I just think sometimes a winning mentality over a lot of years, and I don't know what Notts County's win percentage is over, say, 4 or 5 years, but I bet it's bloody high. So
Mm.
I will take then MK, Notts County, and Port Vale. So we agree on MK, and you had Walsall and Doncaster in as well. Get
Yes.
your picks in the comments. Let's go back to the Championship now, and this is a really interesting bit to do because you can honestly flip a coin on the playoffs because it's tournament football. And remember, we're not necessarily, Jack and I, telling you who we think the third best team in the league is,
Mm.
because that's literally not what happens in the playoffs. It's a tournament that happens after the season. So the league table kind of becomes a bit irrelevant after
Mm.
well, other
Us
than
Leeds
who's
fans.
yeah, exactly. Other than who's playing at home first or what have you. So I think I had in my 1 to 24s, I had Sunderland in there, Burnley in there. God, who else did I have in there? I had Borough and oh God, who
Baggies?
was my and Baggies? Yeah. Um, so my thought is always pragmatic managers win the playoffs and teams that are good at defending, but you've literally got Lebris, Corberon, and Parker isn't defensive, but he's very methodical in there.
Mm.
And then you've got Carrick and Middlesbrough, who I would enjoy watching the most. And you think, is he going to get past those three other managers? So let's give Sunderland their flowers and say that because they've got a good shape off the ball and they're good defensively, that they could win the playoffs. I know they've got a terrible playoff history, but they did win the League One playoff against Wickham, didn't they? That I was
Yeah.
going to say that would be their last playoff appearance, but it wouldn't be because they lost to Luton, didn't they, in
Yeah.
the championships a couple of years ago.
Mm.
So let's give very boringly Sunderland their flowers. So I've actually got the top three, but my rationale is that Regis Lebris could win a playoff. What are you thinking for a
Mm.
playoff winner?
You gotta love the playoffs, haven't you? But I'm pretty much on the same page as you. To be fair, I think Burnley, Sunderland, and West Brom will make up the third, fourth, and fifth. And do you know what? The sixth place in the championship, I think, is just the most exciting, outstanding part of the season. That race for that, which you normally got about 8 teams going into the final month that can get in there. And obviously, my team, we saw it last season that although they never really played overly well, that home record was enough to carry them through. And we're about 17th this time last season. Sargent back, and away they went. So anything is possible, and we've seen that. With like we look at the odds there. We've got some real outliers that we go, wow, they're way off the pace, but the traders still think they've got a big chance of getting in there. And that's a long way round for me to say. I think Middlesbrough. I've gone with them. I've landed on them in the end. Haven't watched them in the flesh. So I've go to watch the Norwich games, and I've seen Leeds, Sheffield United, Middlesbrough have been. I know it's just a one-off game, but I've seen them obviously outside of that as well. The most impressive side. Carrick, obviously, what he's done, very well respected, and I say it's just kind of fallen short of where they should be. Again, you look at the expected points, expected goals, all those underlying data and matrix, they absolutely smash it out of the park. I will mention Millwall at this point because I was so surprised to see them doing so well in the expected points as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a Millwall get into the playoffs and disturb that kind of status quo a little bit, to be
That
honest with
home
you.
leg would
But
be fun, wouldn't it?
it would, it would indeed, it would indeed. But yeah, I've gone with Borough. I think all those elements we talked about, the fact that Tommy Conway's come in and kind of done well and took his chance. But I think Emmanuel Latelat, we talked about him. I remember on one of your watch-alongs, Ben, he hadn't scored in open play, and I can't remember which game it was. And he came off the bench and he scored.
Oh, diving header. Brilliant. Against
Yeah,
Sheffield United, yeah.
that was the one. Yeah, I knew it was. It was one, and it was an important goal. And
You
he's
called
kind of
that,
kicked
didn't
on a
you?
little bit. Is that Barry?
You called it, didn't you, I think?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we were talking about it
Yeah.
during the show. Yeah, but I think it was. Yeah, I think he's just come in, and that goal he's kicked on a little bit, and if he can now go a bit like I mentioned with Sargent, just went on a scoring run. If he can now do that between now and the end of the season, like we saw last season from him, then that will get Borough in there, and they'll be lethal as far as their opportunities against kind of quite low scoring opponents that might well be in there with them. So yeah, Borough for me.
Let's go on to League One, and it's. I'm thinking the same thing as you were saying about the Championship, because you can almost, like in the Championship, you could literally go, well, what if Cardiff hire Rita and go on a massive run? Hull,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
could do something. Your lot, Norwich, could just
yeah.
zoom. Luton could turn around. You can pick out about
Yeah, I mean,
800 teams.
I will just quickly, while we just mentioned it before we move on to League One, say with the traders, they've got Coventry still well up there, and of
There you go.
course a massive appointment for them coming up now. Who's going to take on the task of trying to kick on from Mark Robbins? Not an enviable one in some respects, but obviously a great setup to go into. But yeah, the bookies got them well up there as far as an 8 position difference between actual position and where they have them in as far as the possibility of them getting promoted. They've got them with about only a 5% chance promotion, but so that sits them ninth as far as the table as it stands at the moment is concerned. But the biggest move.
So let's look at League One then. And I know it's been predictable, hasn't it? Because we've had Barnsley, Bolton, and Peterborough in for the last 2 years, haven't
Mm.
we? Bolton aren't where they were, and Peterborough could win 10 in a row and then lose 6 in a row and lose them all 3-2 and 4-1 and all of
You
that
nailed
stuff.
that one.
Yeah, couldn't they? Um, do you know what? I was at the playoff final between Sheffield Wednesday and Barnsley, and I thought Mike Duff was the unluckiest manager in the world because the red card could have not been a red card, and it's a very, very late goal. And I forget who it was. Was it Connell? There was a huge chance to win the game, like a 1v1 that didn't get taken. So I'm going to go for a Mike Duff redemption. Huddersfield to win in the playoffs, Jack. It's a nice story. I'm sure you're going to completely kick it into touch with some data here, but what do you reckon for a playoff winner?
Again, this is another one where we can throw out loads of that we've not kind of we've left out on there. I've settled and say Peterborough are one of those ones that you think could be anything. I've gone for Lincoln, and I'd love to
Okay.
see Lincoln get up into the Championship. And the much of the reason behind that, Skubala, what a job he has done at Lincoln. One of
Lost in
those
the
career
final
coaches.
to Blackpool probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, yeah.
Brett
But
Johnson and Morgan Rogers in that team.
not bad, is it? Not
No.
bad at all. Oh, but I think they've got them up in fifth at the moment, Lincoln. their budget as far as the league is concerned. We start talking about budget in the third tier now, when we've already mentioned Birmingham, Wrexham, the millions they can spend. Lincoln aren't anywhere near that. They're in the bottom third as far as their budget's concerned. But since he's come into Lincoln, they've played 43 games under him. So in essence, all but 3 games short of a full season. 121, drawn 13, lost 9. They picked up 76 points. That's the most points anyone's gained in League One over that period of time. Now, obviously, there's sides that haven't been in it for that length of time, like Birmingham, but generally over a consistent level, when we're talking about a playoff team here, that whole midsection of the league, they are clear of all the competition. They're averaging 1.76 points per game. Extrapolate that over a season, and you're looking at they're going to get into the playoffs once you add a couple of pieces on. So I think that you look at that slide and doors moment you mentioned there, and this is one for Lincoln as far as they missed a penalty against Portsmouth on the last game of last season, which could well have then got them into they were in the playoffs at that point, ended up losing that game. Oxford won their game, took their place in the playoffs,
Right, yeah.
and then we all know what happened. Yeah. So I just think for me, they've been so consistent since he's been there. He's a really highly thought of coach coming through that Leeds Academy and onwards from there, and is just doing a sensational job there. So absolutely, for me, I'm going to plump for the Imps.
Okay, I will go first on League Two, and
Change your confidence.
I'll go for Gillingham on the basis that I always thought Mark Bonner was quite good when he was at Cambridge, and B, I remember when I was working at the ITV show, that was when the takeover happened there, and the kind of money came in for Gillingham, and I think it's a pretty ambitious setup. And again, I'm going to make the guess that January could be they could get a little lift there. And did Bonner take Cambridge up? He must have from
You did
League Two as well, mustn't
and
he?
kept up in League One.
Yeah, oh God, they won at Portman Road, mate. So we never heard the end of it, did we? But yeah, so I will back Gillingham as my 4th promoted team and my playoff winner.
Excellent. I'm going to go with the side that I've been quite keen on for a little while, and I've gone with Crewe, who I think are a little bit underrated. They finished 6th last season. They were the side that suffered in the playoff final last term. Came back from 2-0 down against Doncaster, who, as I've already mentioned, at that point in time were just like rampaging through the division, and everyone thought, well, there we go. They lost the home leg 2-0 Doncaster. Doncaster in the playoff final. They'll be in League One, no problem at all. And then they turned it round at Doncaster and won there on penalties. And then it was against Crawley in the final when everyone then suddenly thought, oh, well, Crewe are going to do it. And then they fell short. So could quite easily have suffered a big hangover from that. Well, you could say they did. They lost their first 2 games as well. So a bit like with Wickham, that was how that went. But since then, have turned it round. Lee Bell's done a really good job in there as well. I said their defensive process is the thing that really makes it. We talked about that in the Championship with those sides that just are very tough to beat. They've had some real tough away games and they've come out unscathed from all of them. Walsall away, Fleetwood away, who have been talked about and expected to be up there or thereabouts, and Doncaster away, and they picked up 5 points from those. So Demetriou, this experienced campaign is kind of keeping that back line together, and they've got some really nice young talent in the likes of Conway and Cooney as well. So for me, I'm going to go with them to go one better than last season, go back to Wembley, and this time be successful.
Brilliant stuff, Jack. So get in the comments. We'll run through our final 10, if I can remember mine. I can remember my Championship because they're boring as hell. So I went Sheffield United and Leeds automatic, with Sunderland winning the playoffs. In League One, I went Birmingham and Wrexham automatic, with Huddersfield winning the playoffs. And in League Two, I went Port Vale, Notts County, MK automatic, and Gillingham winning the playoffs. Can you remember your whole 10, Jack?
Fortunately, I've cheated. I've written mine down, so I'm all right. Yeah.
Far more than me going off the cuff here.
Leeds and Sheffield United automatically in the Championship. and to be joined. I've written it down. I actually Borough in the playoffs. League One, Birmingham and Wickham automatically, and Lincoln via the playoffs. And in League Two, Walsall, Doncaster, MK Dons automatically, and Crewe via the playoffs.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff, Jack. Well, I've really, really enjoyed this. Let me ask you, audience. Well, I'll ask you three questions. Firstly, have you got the cojones to get your 10 in the comments there? Secondly, would you like to see Jack return to the channel? And thirdly, would you like to see Jack return to the channel and we can call all the teams to get relegated, which might be a far less popular video than this one.
Well, that
But
would
yeah,
go down well, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
let us know and get involved down there in the comments. Jack, you do some fantastic work. It is in the betting space, but it's
Mm,
Jack. You can see is very sort of data led. I know some people, and it's fine. Whatever your views are, or your views, but you can see
mm.
Jack's a great guy and got great knowledge. Can you plug a bit of your work and where people can find you on Twitter and on YouTube?
Yeah, over on Twitter, it's at _Jack_Wright, and I sign post all my stuff there. So a lot of written content, a lot of video content as well, odds checking, who scored, that kind of stuff. My main YouTube channel isn't an independent or an individual one, but it's at Because We Win. And we've got a whole host of guys on there, a real good bunch talking about football across the spectrum. So European football. I'm on the Premier League show with Nigel and Dan, and we cover every game every week, and obviously give our viewpoints on all 10 of those as well. So yeah, that's good fun, and yeah, at Because We Win on YouTube. Come join us there. Big, good community growing there, and everyone's got their opinions on what's going on. We love to get involved in the conversations, which is what it's all about, isn't it? Opinions.
It is. So, with that being said, get down there in the conversation and get your 10 to go up. And I think, where am I supposed to point today? Somewhere around here, around my face. Yesterday's video is going to appear right now, where we had a forensic look at every championship team's run up to Christmas. Spoiler alert. Definitely watch if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan. You might like the outcome to that one. Jack, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, let it burn in your comments. Get your 10 to go up.